I've never seen a show that is quite like Fooly Cooly. It's a 6-episode anime condensed into an experience unlike anything else. Now, some of you may have heard of the name in passing, but have never seen it yourself. Or it sounds like I just had a stroke while recording. Regardless, this video will attempt to be your introduction to the series and explain why it's worth your time. Because... So to adequately explain Fooly Cooly, I'll need to go over the plot. One of the most interesting aspects of the show is the story, or rather how it's told. Fooly Cooly's story is usually summed up as, it was a great time, but I had no idea what was happening. It's zany and fun, but deciphering the plot can be difficult on a first viewing. Watch it a second time and things start to make sense. And after a third, everything begins to come together. That was my experience anyway. So, I will now attempt to describe the basic premise of Fooly Cooly. In the city of Mabase, protagonist Naota is convinced his life is ordinary and mundane. His older brother left for the United States to pursue a baseball career, leaving behind his girlfriend, Mamimi, who has been satisfying her feelings with Naota. One day, Naota encounters a woman named Haruko Haruhara, who, after running over the poor 12-year-old and sucking face to bring him back to life, decides to deck him with a guitar. From then on, Naota begins producing robots from his head created from an intergalactic company called Medical Mechanica. I also forgot to mention that Haruko claims to be an intergalactic police officer, and 6 episodes of hilarious, emotionally resonant, and absolutely insane hijinks ensue. Keep in mind, this is my attempt to make it as simple as possible. Now, all this sounds pretty crazy, right? With subject matter like this, it's no wonder people can be absolutely lost with this show, but it's also what makes Fooly Cooly so great. It's a coming-of-age story while also featuring fights with giant robots and some of the most fun and visually pleasing shots in anime I've ever seen. In fact, the visuals are one of the show's most significant aspects. Fooly Cooly has some absolutely stellar direction. Every shot in this show is fantastic, either establishing the city of Mabase with locations, showing fight scenes in chaotic and fun ways, or just quiet moments with these characters. While I love all these types of shots, the latter are some of my favorites. It's hard to engage the viewer with scenes with one character just standing around or sitting, but this show pulls it off and makes it look easy. Though the chaotic scenes aren't just for fights, even conversations can have raging and frenetic energy imbued into them. For example, take a look at this scene in episode 1 where Naota finds out Haruko will be living with his family as a maid. The conversation involves 4 people talking in the same room. Check it out.
It's you, the Vespa woman!
Why are you yelling?
Hurry up and sit down.
Hi.
I just hired her to work for us. Her name's Haruhara.
Haruko, pleasure.
I got run over, you know. Smashed.
By her Vespa!
It should have killed him.
But instead, we got you a live-in housekeeper out of it, didn't we?
Are you feeling okay, Grandpa? I mean, you got a housekeeper! A housekeeper!
Was watching Taro-kun who was making out with a high school girl.
Fondling her yum-yums?
I told you, I'm not Taro!
Fondling her cupcakes?
Pretty cool, huh? The show is gorgeous, with framing compositions that can astound its viewers. Fooly Cooly is a visual playground where the animators are able to animate exchanges how they please, even changing their entire art style just to get a mood across. Compare how trippy and experimental episode 4 is to the absolute insanity that is episode 5. No matter the style an episode takes, it all comes together and just works. Whether it is chaotic or quiet, the show can visually convey this really well. Of course, we can't talk about how great Fooly Cooly is without talking about... The Pillows is a Japanese rock band that was formed in 1989. The soundtrack to Fooly Cooly is purely focused on featuring their music, and it elevates the show into something incredible. Each track feels like it was created for the very purpose of being used in the show. This, of course, includes hectic and action-packed instances. One of my personal favorites of this would be the use of Sleepyhead during episode 1's fight scene. The blaring of the bass and guitar shredding makes this scene go from solid to absolutely astounding. But it's also used in much more tame scenes that elevate the emotions felt by the characters. Both the music and visuals complement each other very well, that it almost feels like a music video. Fooly Cooly's soundtrack is The Pillows, and The Pillows are Fooly Cooly. This show is even better because of their inclusion. While researching for this video, I watched a bit of the director's commentary for some episodes, and it was fascinating to hear from one of the creative heads. Some of the most interesting points included director Kazuya Tsurumaki saying that the pillows were included in the show because he really liked their music. The show was originally not supposed to be as sexually focused. However, the writer was having a lot of fun doing so in the script, so they just rolled with it. The phrase "never knows best" written on Mamimi's cigarette was originally from a magazine, and Tsurumaki thought it sounded really cool. The point is, the show wasn't built in a vacuum. Fooly Cooly was an opportunity for the creators to construct a visual playground, featuring many influences and things they really liked. It's a show that embodies a punk attitude of doing whatever you want and reveling in the fact you exist, while also having heart and soul poured into every aspect. And that heart and soul are always on display, with its characters. When I look back at Fooly Cooly, the most memorable thing to me is the show's characters. The show's focused on Naota and his coming-of-age story, starting as a boy bored with his life in his hometown to a young adult who takes comfort in it. Of course, Naota doesn't realize this by himself. It's with the supporting cast that hammers this point home. They represent different aspects of adulthood, and Naota chooses what he decides to follow from these characters. For example, Mamimi is a delinquent who skips class and spends her free time hanging out under a bridge. She's poor, not very bright, and is convinced she has no future. In the first episode, she focuses most of her attention on Naota. Mamimi was really into Naota's older brother before moving to the United States. She views him as the next best thing, almost like a kindred spirit. But as the show goes on, she realizes that Naota is nothing like her. He's into someone else, and even if he wasn't, he still is so different from her that it just won't work. In fact, in episode 5, Naota desperately tries to get Mamimi to like him more than his brother, only for it to prove to no avail. He realizes after this that there is no chance between the two of them. He and his view on life are much different from hers. Or, for a shorter example, take a look at Commander Amuro. In episode 4, he's introduced and comes across as an essential player. He knows all about Haruka and suggests that he and Naota should stay together, as they both had similar situations with her in the past. He appears to be a very serious guy. He can almost be Naota's role model, as the adults in Naota's life act like children in some regard. But throughout the show, it's revealed Commander Amuro is someone who puts on a persona of being tough and insanely masculine, wearing fake eyebrows to look the part. Amuro is someone who wants to be viewed as an adult by the world, without putting in the work to be that for himself. A sheep in wolf's clothing, or a boy with fake eyebrows. God damn it. Damn you! But the most essential character to Naota in this story is Haruka. After all, she was the catalyst for this situation. Haruka is a complete foil to Naota's serious attitude, usually very brash and ridiculous. But at the same time, she lives life the way she sees fit and refuses to conform to what other people expect of her. She pushes Naota to become a more active person in situations and uses her sexuality to do so. Haruka is doing all this for selfish reasons. However, she still teaches Naota about himself and gives a helpful push out the doors of adulthood. In the show's finale, Naota stands his ground and actively fights against Haruka, resulting in saving the world. Even though she leaves him behind, Naota is better because of her influence and has something to remember her by: the lessons she taught and the guitar she played. Fooly Cooly is a show I'll never forget. It's a creative work that stands on its own, and there's nothing quite like it. There are 2 sequel seasons to the show that are titled Progressive and Alternative. But while I've never seen them, I really like to think of the original as its own thing. It's a short 6-episode anime made by many people who had fun with it and a band the director loved. If it sounds like your thing, I highly recommend it. It's a timeless work that will provide entertainment in these trying times. Hello there. Thanks for watching this video on Fooly Cooly. I hope this video helped pique your interest in the show. If it did, I hope you have a great time watching it. If you want to see more of my content, check out some of my other videos, such as my Far Cry 4 story video or why you should totally play Psychonauts. And subscribe if you want to stay up to date with my future work. Have a good one and stay safe.